everybody, what's going on? It's your Best Buddy Ryan. Day 2 at the Fantasia Film Festival. Last night was the world premiere of Nightmare Cinema, featuring a plethora of talent of all the world of horror, all coming together like the Avengers for one fantastic movie, including Joe Dante. Now, Joe Dante, Gremlins takes a special place in my heart, ladies and gentlemen. I gotta say, I've seen Gremlins more times than I'm willing to admit, and also because I didn't keep track. But I will say it, like a good friend of mine said, it is not Christmas without watching Gremlins. And by that good friend, I mean Jen, who's holding the camera. Wave the camera. Hi, Jen. There you go. That's Jen talking in camera form. So anyway, we're going to see if we can get a couple of words with the guys, but we're not sure if it's going to happen. So what you have to do, ladies and gentlemen, at home is believe. You know that Peter Pan thing where it's like she's skating and shit? It's like that, but it's like this. So at home, clap your hands, and let's see if we could actually get a few words with the guys. So, tell the people shortly about the process of how you assemble this team of Avengers in order to scare us and titillate us at the same time.
Well, these were guys who were friends of mine. I had been a big admirer of their work. All of them, each of them has a really strong cinematic personality, and the whole point of doing an anthology for me is to bring together disparate filmmakers who all are great people and great talent and who want to do something out of the love of it. And so that's these guys. They were the first people I asked. The writers were people I'd known and worked with and understood, and some of us wrote our own, like me. But yeah, I mean, we wanted it to be international. We had to make it in LA, so international filmmakers who live in LA. I was a big fan of each of these guys' work. I'd known Joe Dante since the 70s, and so it was just an opportunity to play in the same sandbox together. Yeah.
First of all, huge fan of Juan of the Dead.
Oh, nice.
Saw it here at Fantasia a few years ago. Great.
Sorry I couldn't come.
Hilarious horror comedy. But you're here with another one today. You're part of this team of Avengers. What was it like working with everybody? Like, did you know what everyone else was doing, or did you...
I didn't want to.
No?
No, I mean, it was enough pressure when Mick told me who else was in this lineup, and you have all these great filmmakers, and when I heard that, I was like, holy fuck, I have to do a good job. And also, I wanted to be surprised. We had the screenplays, but I didn't read them. I didn't want anyone to spoil it. Like, when we were doing the prep meetings, sometimes I would hear stuff like, I don't know, the kids and the blood, and I'm like, I don't want to hear anything. But I didn't know much until 1 week ago or 2 weeks ago when we finished it.
Wow.
Because
2 weeks ago? It was that soon?
When you're coming to festivals, that happens.
So I see that you're as big of a Joe Dante fan as I am.
Yeah. When Mick called me and said, we're doing this anthology, it's me, Joe Dante, I started saying, yes. I was like, I can't believe my name is going to be next to his in a poster. That's something like, and, growing up, I watched Gremlins so many times, and it's one of the things that I felt like telling my mother, you won't believe who am I making a movie with. Like all those times when I was a little kid that you saw me watching stuff, The Howling, and that is paying off.
So here we are with the legendary director Joe Dante. Now, I've been following your career my whole life, and seeing that you're still still standing, but also at the same time you still have a sense. There's a real sense of wonder, love, and romanticism you've had in a lot of your movies. What about this project and this script that you connected with?
Well, first I connected with the people. I mean, I've known Mick since 1980, and we've done a lot of things together. And when it came time to try to put this thing together, which he's been working on for 10 years, he said, it'll help if you say you'll do it. So I said, sure, I'll do it. I didn't know what my story would be or what his story would be or anything. But filmmaking can be very collegial. And most of the time you're making a movie, you're the only director and you're working with the other people, but you don't really have a lot to do with other directors. When you do an anthology movie, you do have more cross-fertilization with other directors. And you sort of, there's not a lot of specific talking about your projects, but there's just something that you draw from each other. It's kind of an energy. And this one was no different. I mean, I think it's a really interesting group of people. The stories are all different. And anthologies are great for directors because they don't have to carry the entire movie. It's their short is just a short, and it's in the middle of something else. And if it's not the greatest short in the whole thing, then maybe there'll be something else. But the pressure's off, and you can experiment. You can do things that you might not get away with doing on a feature.
Well, let's get a first impression from you, considering this film was completed like 2 weeks ago. I just heard. Was last night the first time you saw the whole thing?
First time I saw it all the way through, yes.
Yeah, and thoughts?
My thoughts were, well, I've been watching rough cuts. I had some suggestions about the order of the shorts,
yeah, actually, that was fascinating. You can hear it on the Postmodern podcast, but you suggested that your short go second.
Well, my short was the gimmick in my short ends up with a big makeup, and my big makeup was not going to have much effect if there'd already been 20 big makeups ahead of it. Yeah. So I thought, well, let's get that out of the way early, and then we'll start showing horrible faces, for the rest of the show.
Well, that's fantastic that you're that artistic, yet humble. That's kind of like Mick. That's kind of like Mick Jagger saying to the opening band, "It's like, why don't you play after me?"
But you got to do what's best for the movie, and you want the picture to play well. And I started as an editor, and that just seemed to me to be a good idea. But not knowing anything except having read the scripts and knowing which ones were spectacular and which ones had creepy makeups in them and which ones didn't, it was pretty apparent that it was better if David and I switched spots.
Yeah, and you're speaking that your short ends up with a makeup. You were really a pioneer when it came to puppetry, special effects, makeup. Have you always been attracted to those type of things, or do they fall into your lap?
Those were the things that you had to learn in order to make the unreal real, or as make the illogical logical, as the guy in Gremlins says. You want to tell the kind of stories I wanted to tell, then you have to learn to use the tools at your disposal, and of course they keep changing. The technology that we used on those movies is now completely obsolete. All different things have come up across, and as I've been making movies, I've been changing the way I approach them based on what the technology offers, and the technology is getting just better and better and better. And a lot of things we couldn't do in Gremlins, we were able to do in the sequel because even over 5 years, the technology had improved so much that there was so much more we could do with the puppets than we couldn't do in 1984.
That's true. In Gremlins 2, the Mogwais were in the movie.
They walk around, and they can stand around, and they can dance, and they can sing, and they can fly, and talk, and it's stuff that we couldn't have done in the first movie. The first movie is based on what was possible at the time, and so we had to keep changing the script to accommodate what they couldn't do.
What do you think a Gremlins 3 would be like? Would it be all digital, or would you try to?
It would depend on who does them and how they want to do it. I mean, the temptation would be to do it digitally, but I think that you lose something with that. I mean, there's something about having a prop on the set for the actors to work with, and the reality of the puppeteer being able to be now right next to the puppet and operate it, and then you do another pass, you can take them out. We couldn't do that. We had to hide them behind chairs and under the floor and all this other stuff, which made it very awkward.
Okay. Well, one last question before we go, and thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time. But was Gremlins always set at Christmas, or was that a studio decision based on location and...
Well, no, they wanted to shoot it in Oregon, but I wanted to shoot in the back lot because I thought it should look slightly like an old movie. I think the Christmas thing was always there. God, it's been so long I can hardly remember. Because the spec script that Chris wrote was quite a bit different than the movie that we actually made. But I think it was probably always set at Christmas.
Okay. And what was different in that script?
It was much more gruesome.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
The Gremlins ate the dog and killed the mother and bopped her head downstairs. And in fact, it was so notoriously gory that Siskel and Ebert did a whole piece about how they had heard that this gory, horrible movie was being made.
Okay.
And of course, by the time we started making the movie, we knew we couldn't make an R-rated horror movie out of it. It was supposed to be a movie that was going to be for Spielberg's audience, and so it turned into a sort of a pseudo-family movie.
Really. But thank you so much for giving us some of your time, and on behalf of me, my friends, and the hundreds and hundreds of people who have named their dogs and cats Gizmo based on your work. Thank you so much.
And their kids. I ran into a woman in Switzerland who told me she had named her daughter Gizmet.
Okay. All right. Ryan Sick, live on the scene, Fantasia Film Festival with legendary Joe Dante. Thanks for watching.